Hello and welcome to the Business Octopus, where we talk about all things sales, marketing, and technology. I'm Avon Collis, CRM and Marketing Automation Specialist at Relevate and all-around good guy. And today I'm joined by Dejan from Avant IT, here to talk about cybersecurity amidst a global pandemic. So welcome, Dejan. How are you doing?
Very good, Avon. Thank you for your introduction. So as you stated, down from Avant IT, and today we'll be going through a variety of cybersecurity threats and some ways that we can prevent them.
Fantastic. And now I know that this is prevalent for me at the moment. I'm in lockdown, and I think so are you. So, working from home has been one of those things that, whilst we are now well over 12 months, almost 2 years in this pandemic, it's been a phenomenal shift in the way people are doing businesses. Like Deloitte said, everybody that works in those organizations can now work from home. Twitter and Facebook are saying the same things, and they're saying, yes, you can return to work, but if you're going to do that, then you are probably going to get paid now what everybody else is being paid when they're working in those low-cost areas. So there's been a massive shift in the way people work and what they're doing and how they're accessing information. How has that impacted cybersecurity?
So basically, as the move went through working from home, a lot of people have obviously had to take the security that was previously at their organization to their home. The issue is that when you're in an office environment, usually you have someone to always bounce something back off. If you, for example, had an email that you thought was a bit dodgy or something that wasn't quite right, you could always move over to your colleague to the left and just say, hey, does this look right? Is this okay? Should I open this? And you can kind of get some feedback. But since we've moved from home, everyone's in a more relaxed, more sort of comfortable, more accepting environment. So there's some things that we should definitely look out for because there's still definitely a threat.
Yeah, we hear a lot about the home Wi-Fi being like the single most vulnerable point. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so Wi-Fi is a big thing, especially your home Wi-Fi. When you're in an enterprise-grade environment, basically you have a higher security metric for actually accessing your Wi-Fi. You have a safeguard, you have firewalls in place, you've got maybe an enterprise-grade router that's going through some emails, it's going through this and that to basically filter all those things down. Going into a home environment, there's a lot of things that people sort of don't really worry about. A lot of people I found also don't really change the password at their homes, which is quite a concerning thing. One of the things that is probably good to note, if you have a password that is made up of only digits, let's say up to 8, sounds like a lot of combinations, sounds like something that would not really be hackable, not really be something that's easy to get into. But put in perspective, if someone was scanning your network, maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's someone that's trying to do something malicious. It can take anywhere between 3 to 4 hours of actually attempting and retrieving Wi-Fi packets and then attacking those packets rather than the router to end up breaking into a password.
Yeah, and like a lot of people don't think about, you hear the term brute force attack, but they don't really know what it means. And it's a software trying a password over and over and over again until it makes it. And, we hear all the time that all of these passwords got released online, when quite literally it's every version or iteration. So, just think about how hard it would be so there's 365 days a year. They've only got to go back about max 70, 80 years worth of passwords to get your birth date, if that's your password. Then there's like password 1, password 2, password 3, capital P with the password. And we're talking like one attempt in a millisecond.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues. And, what are the risks? I mean, people have got, access to enterprise systems, but what does that mean for businesses?
In terms of enterprise systems, you'll generally speaking have an IT team in a workplace that basically goes through, measures all those things, waits for new releases, reads the latest news, and applies patches and fixes. So a lot of people will talk about, oh man, my Windows had to update, I had to go through this process, and they complain about it. When the reality is that a lot of those like security updates are actually because something new has been discovered. There's been a threat that now you could be, in danger of, being susceptible to. And at the end of the day, no one really knows no one really knows the value of their data until they've lost it.
Yeah. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone?
That's it.
In the words of a popular song. And I think that, if you put it into context, what could really go wrong? So I know that when it first all happened, I lodged a support request to the bank, and I got about 15 calls back. And I think that was largely due to they were not like I resolved the case with the first person that called me. So I requested a call back. One person called me. I resolved that case, but then I got another 14 calls to resolve that same case. Now, I think that is just a matter of a process error. But, that's the kind of thing where if they hack your Wi-Fi, then they can read your screen or log your key and then see what your password is to go and access the back end of, banking information or, medical records, or, it just depends on what the work is that you're working on from home.
Yep. So if we actually touch on that exact topic, so when someone gets access to a Wi-Fi access point, what can they do? What are the things that are sort of a threat to an individual? How do you know that you're being hacked? So some of the things that can happen is once someone has access to your Wi-Fi, they can basically do what's called a network scan, which basically scans all the available machines or devices that are currently on that Wi-Fi. Now that also includes wired connections as well. So what they can then do is do what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, which is basically fake being your router or a DNS server, for example. And they can filter all the traffic coming from all of those sources through to themselves and then out. So once someone has access to your network, it's quite a dangerous thing because they don't have to do any attacks on trying to get you to go to a specific website or trying to make you click on a link inside an email address or anything like that. Basically, all they have to do is wait for you to go to the site, scan for a bank account. They've got a list of bank accounts, bank companies, and then just wait for you to log in. All that information is bypassed and passed through them, and then they've got information on you. Now, it's not quite that simple because you have what's called encryption. So you'll hear encryption a lot, and you'll hear this topic sort of come up with public Wi-Fi's. So public Wi-Fi's generally are open networks, and they don't have any encryption. So people go, oh, when you're on a public Wi-Fi, you should always use a VPN. So it secures the connection to wherever you're going, and it can't really be read. And even if they do grab that information, it's encrypted and just jumbled up mess.
Yeah.
Which brings us to banking and websites and phishing emails. So moving on from there, whenever you get an email that states that there's an issue from your bank and that some funds have bounced, please click on the link below. The danger is that in these scenarios, people don't even have to be connected to your network. It's someone remote. So how do you prevent things like that from happening? How do you prevent accidentally getting your details out there when you don't want them to actually be accessed? One thing that I would say is if you know nothing about computers, at the very least, never click on a link, but if it is a bank issue, go into Google, type in your bank, go to your link that you know is safe, and log into your account. Is there still an issue? Maybe not. So this is one of the most simple things you can look into. A lot of the time people talk about email headers and like you got to check this and that, but a lot of those words don't mean a lot for the everyday user. So we've got to make it simpler and easier for people to actually find these things.
Sometimes it's as simple as I keep getting reminded about late fees in my Amazon account that I don't have. So it's and that stems across things like emails. You got across phone calls, all sorts of elaborate scams. Now, one of the things in terms of dealing with businesses and who has access to that data is since we've had the remote work culture is now that everybody is through this medium or through this channel. So what happens is that people think, businesses automate to a cost-centric model of thinking, and they go, well, if I can get Jerry to do it in his lounge room at around the corner, why can't I get someone in Manila or in India to do the same work? And so what they often do is they'll jump on these outsourcing platforms, either like Upwork or whatever. And, for some reasons, they're trying to keep you on their platform for security, but also for the revenue. And quite often businesses will try to take the outsourced worker off the platform with no knowledge of who they are, no way to track where they are, sending money for them to do work that they've supposedly sent screenshots that they've done, or even just by virtue of having access to the data. What's their Wi-Fi network like? How does a business know what to do in that scenario?
What's their policy for opening an email or plugging in a USB stick?
Exactly right.
Simple things like that.
Or are they telling you, yes, your stuff is secure, but really they're just on got their hand in your pocket and ripping out 1,000 email addresses or 2 or 5,000 to then go and spam those email addresses?
Yeah, that's right.
Because quite often, they'll sell the data. They might not do it themselves. They'll sell it to a group of people that does do that, because they can make a few $100, and in their money that could be very, very important to them. So there's even a TED talk about a guy who tried to do one of those Nigerian scams, get some gold, and the guy started to converse, talking about how to move the gold and what it's worth, and talking about how much to move, and really found out that this guy was trying whatever means necessary to get money to buy backpacks and school uniforms for the local school. So what he ended up doing is sending a camera, got him to take a whole bunch of photos, sold the book online, made enough money to buy the books, and sent that money over. So, I mean, that's a nice story. Not all of them are so nice, but it's really makes people, or should make people, aware that don't just outsource for the sake of it. I know that in the UK and other EU areas, GDPR laws are becoming such that you have to get a approved, or whoever you outsource to, the company has to have approved security certifications. But even that doesn't always mean the case. One of our clients had outsources to the Philippines, and part of their monthly fee is they pay for security and backup, and that's exactly where the hack came from.
Yep.
So how much of it is people and how much of it is technology?
So it's probably about a 50-50 split. So part of the scams that are rolling around nowadays are basically over the phone. Some of them are via text message.
Yep.
I don't know if any of you have maybe won a free iPhone recently. I've won a few.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I haven't claimed any of them, nor have I received them if I provided my address, or potentially just some bank details for shipping costs, of course. So basically, some of the strategies that are used in terms of this social engineering is, firstly, they have to present themselves as an authoritative figure. They'll start off with, hello, I'm such and such from company. I'm either the CEO, the director, whatever the case is. Then they usually go on talking about their product. They'll put a little bit of truth in everything they say to sort of give them a bit of a legitimacy. So that sort of social proof as well is next. So they'll be like, hello, my name is Dejan from Avant IT. I'm the owner of such and such company. I would just like to let you know that it's been a detriment to a lot of businesses. They've lost a lot of money. There's currently been X amount of people that have been affected by this. And then they'll try to link and put similarities that they've basically, if we're looking at what's called spear phishing, is they would have done some research beforehand about you or about your company, and then they'll try to target things that align with your business or your business needs. So they'll try to use these strategies to sort of get you in and get you to understand that like what you want and what they want are the same things. Then they will try to do a push for a commitment. So a push for a commitment basically helps you secure the person and make them feel good about what they've done. Because usually people are a bit umming and ahhing, same with when you're trying to sell them something, until they've made the purchase. And the moment that they've made that purchase, they have like a kind of cooling off period that they sort of like, oh, I don't know if this has been the right thing, and blah, blah, blah. So then it's up to you to sort of, as a scammer in that case, to then get them to believe that they've made the right choice. So that it's not all for nothing. You're going to get something out of this now. It's all good. There's rainbows and pots of gold everywhere for you.
Yeah.
So the takeaway is, if something is too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
In most cases. So I would say, in terms of authority, how to prevent that. Do a facts check. Ask them where they're from. Ask them about their business. Where are you calling from? Who are you? Okay, cool. You're such and such. Jump on LinkedIn. If they're such and such from a company, they'll have a LinkedIn website. They'll have a link. They'll have a genuine place to look. The social proof, with everything in my life, tell everyone to fact check anything anyone said. Jump online, do an independent study. Well, not a study, just spend 5 minutes on it. Just check. Have such and such people been affected with blah, blah, blah. Get some reporting for yourself. Never trust anyone. Similarities and liking is just a strategy in general for what, like, if I want to be friends with you, you probably, if we have a lot of things in common, we're probably going to be on the right road.
I would add to that in terms of if you're going to do a search on someone, there's a term, multiple source reporting. So do not look at one source, and otherwise you get what's called confirmation bias, and you look for evidence to support your idea rather than to disprove it. So multiple source reporting means that you found 2 or 3 websites that say no, or maybe 2 or 3 things. So if you jump on their LinkedIn profile that they've created overnight in an hour, and it's just got an image, some text on it, and haven't really spent any time or investment on it. But then if you can see that they've got a few hundred connections, they've got some links to some other articles or a blog or something that I talk about creating when doing LinkedIn from a marketing perspective, creating 3-dimensional space in a 2-dimensional world. So you're doing so by connecting to those other elements, those external things that basically give more evidence and proof that you are a real person.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, same with facts checking. Like when you're doing any of that stuff, you have to look at it objectively. Everyone has the thing that they want, right? They have their own opinion. You kind of hope that you're right if you haven't done any research, and it's kind of like a gut feeling. You want to see, everyone wants to seem like they know what they're talking about all the time. So and that's a problem with checking for information in general. Like you have to look at it objectively, because not everyone's perfect and we're not right all the time. So look at it objectively, see the stats, check it out. If it doesn't sound right, it's probably not. Go through it and be diligent with it. Be very, very careful.
Now, funny you mentioned that. Like earlier, we were talking about some stats around hacks and how much money's gone out the door. Would you care to share that again?
Yeah, sure. I'll just grab the information here.
So basically, people are getting hacked left, right, and center. And one of the things we mentioned was that it can be a very personal blow. It can be a very big hit to your pride to say, I got scammed, I got hacked, So I think that whilst there is a lot out there, not all of it is reported. But, you've got a figure there.
So for example, in 2021 alone, so this year, 2.3 million has already been scammed via these phishing emails. Now, a lot of people go, oh, that's outrageous. That's not possible. Surely not. But the number is actually quite higher than that. It's exactly for the same reasons that you've mentioned already. People are afraid to say that they're scammed. People are afraid to say that, they've been a victim of ransomware, all this sort of stuff. To put it in perspective, in terms of reports, there's only been 23,000. So 2.3 million is coming from only 23,000 people that are reported, being a victim of these attacks.
And that's only one source. Now, I know that...
And that was from Trend Micro. That's only one source. If we dive deeper into it, there's a whole bunch of them.
And one of the things I recall reading on social media not too long ago was that there was a cryptocurrency business that shut down overnight and replaced their website with "We scammed you."
Oh, wow.
And they got away with about $23 million.
Wow.
So
that's an orchestrated attack.
A very, very much one orchestrated attack. So they've created the website, all the marketing, a range of, was it that ICO, initial coin offering, which is uses language which is not realistic. And like everybody likes the idea of a decentralized thing and not paying taxes. And they like the idea that they're, fighting the government until something like that happens. And then they realize that the government's there trying to regulate, control, manage, and reduce those sorts of things. Yeah. So it's
crypto in particular is a dangerous one because it is harder to track than other sources because of its decentralized sort of focus. Now, it's not to say that crypto in itself is a bad thing. It just means that you need to be even more aware of what it is that you're doing with it.
It's like painting a rock yellow and calling it gold and then trying to sell that. So, make sure you know what it is you're looking at, you're buying. I think a lot of people go, I'll jump on this crypto train. I don't know anything about it.
Yep.
And so they get into something they just don't understand.
And in crypto and in scams in general, if there's a sense of immediate urgency to do something, it's probably a scam.
Yes.
Nothing in life is really that detrimental that you need to jump on top of something immediately, unless it's something that you're aware of and it's something that's happening in your...
Unless you're going to get a free set of steak knives, I really cannot turn that up. So what are the ways that people can protect themselves? We're talking about emails, phones, and you mentioned a website.
Yeah, so basically, you've got to be aware of what it is that you're looking at. Okay, so some of the things are, if you get an email from Australia Post, did you order anything from Australia Post? Has your company ordered anything? Am I going to quickly just click on a link and have a look because there's a reference number and it says that it's from Australia Post? Or am I going to maybe ask around before I do so?
Or if you click on the to field and it says Australia Post with a couple of extra A's in there.
Exactly. At some point, I would like to go through and demonstrate, not today, but maybe at a later date, how some of these attacks actually work. So what we can actually do is we can go through how an email might be structured. We can go through with some dummy attacks. So basically, we'll go through and instead of putting malware, we'll put a little text file that says "gotcha," stuff like this. So you can actually see in kind of like a more fun way, but like a real life environment, how these things sort of work, what they look like, and how to sort of catch them out. Now, yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, a friend of mine actually works at an IT firm, and they do penetration testing on their own team, and they said it is absolutely phenomenal how many people still click on the Dropbox email, even though they don't use Dropbox in the organization.
It's that sense of urgency. It's that sense of, hey, Sarah just told me that this has to come out by today. Please review the following. And then there's a link to something. Now, this is why policies in companies is very important. There's a reason you use a particular software suite. There's a particular reason you go to meetings and people talk about certain things. Just because something doesn't work doesn't mean you should just use a separate technology. It means that you should talk to someone and tell them it's broken so they can fix it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, and this is something we've needed to control, obviously, it's just the sheer fact that you have a lot of people with free will and the ability to think for themselves, which is good and bad, because you want an organization that can both, come up with new ideas, but also think as one, as a united organization. And, part of that is what project management system do we use? Are people logging into all these cloud apps? They sign up to one, and they've got a dodgy back-end process, or that company themselves gets hacked. I know that there's organizations now that refuse to use systems and software as a company policy unless the data is stored in Australia. And so, whilst, you can always get it cheaper, cheaper is a much, much higher risk, and you can't vouch for or guarantee that they're giving you that low price because they're just really good at their job, or if they're scrimping on other factors like levels of security. Does the building that the staff walk into have a swipe card access? Do they receive, regular training on what phishing is? Are they,
and even social engineering attacks in that sense,
Exactly.
it could be anything. And I think that it's kind of like the workplace health and safety, right? If I told you to climb a ladder somewhere really high and you didn't feel comfortable with it, you're probably not going to do it. You're probably going to say, hey, look, I think it's a bit of a workplace health and safety issue. It's the same thing here. If you take a little bit longer to do something just because you feel like there's something that's not quite right, you should definitely not be penalized for that. And you should definitely, businesses need to understand that it's for their own safety, and it will save them time, heartache, and a whole deal of money. Because, looping back to what we said at the beginning, you don't know what you've lost till it's gone.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess there's been a lot of great tips in the episode. If there's any one single most important thing that you want to leave the audience with today, what would it be?
Do your research. And
very simple.
Don't click on links. Go to the source.
Yes, absolutely. Never trust a link or a phone number or anything that you don't know already off by heart.
Exactly. If it really is the Australian Taxation Office, they'll probably send you multiple warnings before they
and generally via letter.
Via letter, yeah, not necessarily via automated phone call.
No, with an American accent.
Exactly, followed by a foreign accent.
Press 1 to know more. That's the other one. Language patterns. Sometimes, when someone uses the term know more, that's correct. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just generally not something we use in our Australian vernacular. So click here to know more. No, we generally say click here to learn more, or to find out more about. So look at language patterns as well. But yes, very much great tips there. So thank you very much for your time, Dejan. And if you're listening and you'd like to find more about protecting yourself online, you can reach out to Dejan from Avant IT and learn more about some of the tools that you can stay safe online with on the website, avantit.com. And we'll add some links to some of those tools, as well as Dejan's LinkedIn URL in the episode comments. But otherwise, thank you for listening to the podcast. If you have any questions or you'd like to be on the show, you can check out relevate.com.au and fill out the contact form. Until next time, take care.